Good evening, everybody. On the heels, or excuse me, just on the doorstep of Christmas, we are Lessons from the Front live on Facebook tonight. And my name is Todd Boating. I am representing Carry the Load and Lessons from the Front. And we have with us tonight a guest that I've known for a very long time, one of our original ambassadors of Carry the Load, fellow Marine, Josh Lewis. Josh, welcome to the program, sir.
Hey, Todd. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here, sir.
Well, the first thing I want to do, Marine to Marine, I want to toast you, man. You put in some many good years of service to our country. Thank you very much. I just want to say, in front of everybody.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So your history with this organization, like we just kind of mentioned, goes back to the beginning. But before we talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about, I want to put it in context about how Carry the Load came to mean something so special to you. So you served in the Marine Corps from what year to what year?
Yeah, I was in the Marines from 2003 to 2011.
Okay, 2003 to 2011. That's a long time, and that's right in the thick of a lot of the stuff that was going on overseas. What took you into the Marine Corps?
I tell you what, I got kicked out of school. I wasn't doing well. My grandfather, who I loved very much, admired very much, he sat me down and said, "Josh, you're worthless, and I'm not proud of you. And you need to do something with your life. You're a loser, and I'm not proud to call you grandson right now." Left that meeting with him and driving home, and I was angry, and I was like, I'm going to show that old man he doesn't know anything. And saw the Marine Corps recruiting office, walked in, and I probably had some kind of record as like fastest guy to ever sign up. I signed up, signed on the dotted line within minutes of walking into that office, and left boot camp 18 days later.
Okay, so wait a minute. There's a little bit to unpack there. So your grandfather, who was he in the Marine Corps?
He was in the Marines. He was in the Army Air
Okay,
Corps.
so your grandfather, my grandfather was in the Army Air Corps too, so I like that. But he basically said, I need to be as bold and as blunt with this kid as I can possibly be, and
Yeah.
he laid it out there. And but that had to have hurt.
It did. I think, but it was a personal thing. It was an issue of, I was a silver spoon. Everything was given to me growing up, and I was just used to life being easy. And this was really probably the first time somebody I really loved and admired told me I was just not performing well. I was really worthless, and so it hit me like a ton of bricks. And so, leaving that meeting as a young kid, I was 19, 20 years old, leaving that and thinking of the anger that I had and processing that, I just was trying to figure out what I could do. How could I improve my life? And really, I had no answers. And so the only answer I saw was leaving Dallas. And the quickest way I knew that was through the Marines.
So were you angry at him, or were you angry at yourself?
Angry at myself.
So you went to the recruiting office, and next thing you know, you got your hand in the air and you're on your way to MCRD San Diego, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir. Standing on those yellow footprints.
The yellow footprints. You had more hair then than you do now, I'm assuming.
A little bit, and it was a bright red. I had a bright red goatee when I went in. I had big old earrings. I looked much different.
You had big earrings.
Yeah, I can't say I made wise choices, okay? But that's what I had.
So, okay. You end up in, obviously, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines is one of the units. That's the glass that you're holding there. So what was your first stop in the fleet? And for those who aren't aware, in the Marine Corps, we call it the fleet. That's when you're on active duty. You go out to what's called the Fleet Marine Force, which basically means you're somewhere where you can be deployed very quickly. And so was 1-5 your first stop?
Yeah, I went to Alpha Company 1-5, joined the boat company, and started doing boat ops, which was entertaining at the time because we knew we were going to Iraq, and Didn't know why we needed boats, but we kept training with those because that's what we were supposed to do. December, so that was March of 03, went to boot camp,
You know,
graduated
there are
in
a
June.
couple of rivers in Iraq. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Sure, there are, sure. June of 03, graduated boot camp. SOI, I got out of that in September of 03. December of 03, deployed with Alpha Company 1-5. We went to Okinawa for a few weeks, and then we went to Iraq beginning of 04. That was 04 going to Okinawa. Beginning of 05, we were in Iraq, and had the opportunity to be in Fallujah and Ramadi in 2004, 2005. So
Okay, so wait a minute. The way you put that, I have to kind of dig in a little bit. You had the opportunity to be in Fallujah and Ramadi. Now, for those who may not be aware, Fallujah and Ramadi are not exactly, they were not opportune getaways. So can you explain that a little bit more? You put that very, very soft.
Man, for the Marines, for infantry, I would say being in Fallujah and being in Ramadi is kind of what we were trained to do. I equate it to being an attorney, studying your whole time through law school, going through hours and hours of prep, mock trials, and finally you get a chance to be in front of a judge and you're going to litigation and you finally get to use all your training. Kind of the same thing here. We went through hours and hours, shot thousands and thousands of rounds, hours and hours of patrol, hours and hours of movement and contact. And finally, we had the opportunity to walk through and be and apply all this training we did. So it's a great honor as a Marine. All of us look forward to it. I would say most of the guys I was with, we'd all say we weren't great back in the States. We weren't great garrison Marines, but once you get us out there, we love the battlefield.
So you saw some interesting. I mean, Fallujah is obviously renowned for. I don't know if that's the right word. It's certainly notorious now for being one of the hardest fought battles during that campaign. And I'm sure if I were to fast forward into your time with Carry the Load, there are probably some things that happened in Fallujah and Ramadi that really put Carry the Load in the spotlight for you and why it's so special of an organization. And I know from conversations with you, it is. Is that a fair thing to assume?
Yeah. Unfortunately with that job, we did lose some brothers, and it created some anger in my life and created some other issues in my life. And so, yeah, it's definitely something that I carried forward and carried that burden for years. And so as I got out of the Marines in 2011, and these guys named Clint Bruce and Stephen Hawley were wanting to talk to me about carrying and walking for 20 hours while I thought they were somewhat crazy. After doing it, the proof is in the pudding, if you will, of just how you can heal from that, and how it allows you to break down some of the anger and the barriers you've put up.
And so how did you come to Clint and Stephen?
My mom introduced me to Clint at church. So we both go to Watermark, and she's like, hey, there's this, gregarious guy out there. He says, wants to meet you and wants to know if he can help you out when you get out. And so I met with him, and Clint just has that great personality to say, hey, let's see if we can help each other out. And, Josh, let's just get together and help each other. And why don't you come work for me? And so I started working for him pretty quick. And my first day on the job, him and this guy, Steve Hawley, who was another Navy SEAL and in my mind, crazy guy, and Rebecca Harslow, we're all in the room, and we got there to talk about this walking 20 hours and 11 minutes, and they're all excited about it. And I just left that meeting thinking, man, these are crazy people. But it was definitely a contagious crazy that was spreading through Dallas.
So tell me about that first meeting though. When they said, "Hey, we got this idea," and knowing Clint, knowing Stephen, knowing you, there was a lot of anger in that room. So, I mean, what was, describe what was going on? There was like, hey, we got this great idea and we're going to go walk it off. What was the thought process?
Man, I can tell you, I went into that meeting thinking these guys were talking hypothetical. Like
Okay.
these guys aren't actually going to walk for 20 hours and 11 minutes. That's just not going to happen. Why would you do that? I was, gosh, that was February of 2011. We were meeting, and I got back from Afghanistan November of 2010. So I was 4 months removed from being, in country, patrolling, doing stuff, doing ops, and why would I want to put that pack on and walk for 20 hours and 11 minutes? And I remember thinking, surely this is hypothetical. Surely these guys are just speaking in thought. This isn't something that's actually going to happen. And we left that meeting, and I was thinking, there is no way I would ever do this. This is just, I'm out. I'm done with that life. Why would I voluntarily go walk for this long with a pack on my back that weighs anything more than 5 pounds or 10 pounds? Why would I do that to myself? And so I left bewildered, and Clint, in his Clint ways, quickly cleared it up for me as he told me this was something we were definitely going to do. And he was excited to see me walk in it.
So you were on
Yeah,
his payroll at that point and you said, Roger that.
I always joke, I always say I was tricked into doing it, and I can tell you at the time, that first year, about 10 hours in, I was pretty pissed off. I was pretty irritated that he had tricked me into it. And it was probably about 2:30 in the morning that I realized my anger was not really with Clint. It was with the fact that we had lost brothers. And it wasn't so much with the fact that I felt tricked being out there, which if you ever talk to Clint, you can ask him why he tricked me. I don't know why he decided to trick me, but
You weren't the only one.
yeah, hey, it was a good thing to do. But just being there and realizing the anger I'm dealing with is not with Clint. It's not with the fact that I'm out here walking for 20 hours. With every step, it was realizing the anger that had hurt my family, hurt my wife, put barriers up between my friends. That anger was causing me to be a lesser man. And so that's what happened that first year. With every step, I realized I need to let the anger go. I need to allow myself to express myself. I need to be able to tell these stories. I need to be able to talk about the Marines we lost, because when I'm able to talk about it, that's what brings their lives back. That's what allows them to continue on. I know Cody mentioned this with you a couple of months ago. You have two deaths. The first is your physical death. The second is when people forget you. And so for me to be able to keep going and continue on their legacy and discuss that with kids from all over America now is quite an honor at this point.
So I don't want you to gloss through that because I think it's very important. There is a little bit of folklore out there, and I think there's a lot of truth. There was someone that first year in the 10-mile loop around White Rock Lake, they got to a point where they could no longer walk forward. The blisters were so bad, but yet they didn't want to give it up. And so they turned around and started walking backwards. If I'm not mistaken, that was you.
Yeah, that was me. I was very unprepared that first year, and headstrong Marine. Just thought, hey, I can do this. I'm just going to keep going. Just going to keep walking. So, around 6 a.m, we still had 6 hours left. My feet were in bad shape. I stopped on my lap. I was at lap 4, so I'd done around 38 miles at the time. And sitting down, my feet looked like pepperonis all over them and just look horrible. My shoulders were killing me. My back's hurting. And I was just in pain. I had nothing else to do, but I knew I couldn't stop. And so a buddy of mine was like, if you walk backwards, that'll change the strike of your foot and you'll be able to keep going. And I was like, it's a really good idea. After I thought he was just making fun of me, I realized he was serious, and I was like, all right, well, I'll try that. And so walking backwards allowed that strike of my foot to change and allowed me to keep going. And it's funny, there were people there that were able to guide me as I'm walking and I'm tired and I've been going for 18 hours, 19 hours. They're like, hey, go a little bit left, go a little bit right, go this way, go that way, change your direction a little bit just to stay on course. It kept me from having to turn around and look back, and allowed me to keep going. I had some guys next to me that just continued to encourage me. Ben Lively, a guy that I served with in 1-5, Chris Hook, another buddy of mine, they just came alongside me and encouraged me to keep going. You're almost there, push it through. And yeah, I completed that 5th lap. It took me a lot longer than the first 4 had, but total probably got somewhere around 48 miles that first year. So it was painful.
And the fuel was all anger.
Fuel was 100% anger. Just
so tell us, Josh, tell us about one of the guys that was part of that fuel.
Yeah, so I lost a number of men, unfortunately, but one of them that was a great friend of mine was Tyler Trevelyan. And so Tyler passed June 15th, 2005, and was a great friend. He and I, we were both from the Dallas area, did know each other before the Marines, but we kind of ran in the same circles, and just a great man. I mean, this guy was 6'4", just Adonis of a Marine. Just when you picture like the Marine on the poster, that was Tyler. And just a great guy. Everybody loved him, and would give you the shirt off his back. He and I were roommates for a little while, and then I ended up getting married and moved out for 2 months before he deployed. We deployed together, and he was out. We were in different platoons. He was out with his squad, and him and 4 of the Marines got hit by an IED, and all of them lost their lives that night. It was something that once I heard it, I know a lot of the guys I served with, we all were shocked and angry, and we all expressed that differently. And a lot of them handled it better than I did, but I was angry, and so I came home, and my anger really just kind of spewed out onto my family. And at the time, that was just my wife, and I was just a really, really awful husband. Tore into her, yelled at her, screamed at her, just degraded her. And she bore the brunt of that. And by the grace of God, she's still with me. And we celebrated 16 years a couple days ago, but
good for you guys.
Yeah, thanks. And it was anger, and it was something where a lot of the times, even in my weakness now, I'll sit and think, like, Tyler was a great man. He was extremely intelligent, physically fit, well-liked. I just don't understand the loss there. And so it's a battle I've had with God, but it's also an argument that he doesn't mind having. It's an argument that God doesn't mind having with me. I know Tyler, I know his family well. I know his brother, his sister. I know his mother extremely well. I've spent amazing time with them over the years. His mom, Gina, is just, a sweetheart of a lady. She's our, she's like a mother to us. She's our second platoon mom. And just going through those conversations with her and getting to know her family, it's just been such a blessing and allowed us to heal. But you still wrestle with those questions of why Tyler and why those guys, and the guys he died with were great guys. And so you just wonder those things. And that's what fuels the anger and the hate of just, it's kind of that why me, but it's not me. It's not like why him? Why did we lose them? Why did that happen? You get the survivor's guilt of why them and not me? Why wasn't I with them? And so as you deal with all of that, and all that comes into view, you develop an anger and a self-hate. And I carried that from June 15, 2005. Broke down some of it in 07 and 08. But really in 2011, walking really began to be therapeutic. Carry the Load allowed me that therapy, allowed me that time to be alone, walking and saying it's okay to talk about them. It's okay to talk about my memories, to laugh about the times that Tyler and I, every Sunday, we had this dumb tradition of cooking up like an inordinate, a crazy amount of chicken wings on our little Foreman grill and watching some crappy movie in the barracks on Sundays. And that was what we did every Sunday. That was just our fun. And you get to tell those stories again. And I remember a few years after the start in North Carolina, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. This little kid, you can hear the kid talking to the dad. I want to talk to him. And what can I say? And his dad just said, "Hey, just ask him." And he came up to me, and this little kid looked at me and goes, "Who are you carrying?" And I mean, Todd, talk about like a Marine being broken down to just about instant tears. And I got to tell him about Tyler and other friends, and he just kept asking questions about Tyler. And tell me about Tyler. Tell me, what was he like? What did he look like? What's his family like? And it's just an amazing opportunity for healing and understanding on my part.
So, we talk about we can't truly celebrate the lives of others until we have the ability to heal first. And that's obviously, for those of us involved in Carry the Load, we know that it's about celebrating the lives of those who have gone before. And to echo what Cody, what you referenced about the conversation with Cody. Yeah, we never want these guys to die a second death. I mean, there's nothing we can do now about the first one, but we can do something about the second. So when you're out there walking forwards, walking backwards, a Blake left, right oblique, left oblique. What's going through your head about Tyler? I mean, what helped you to heal so that you could truly honor him and celebrate his life?
It's really two things. One, it's memories of us together. So I can remember Tyler. I'm only 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, and
I'll refrain.
Yeah, thanks. And Tyler's legs were longer than just about everybody's. He had no trouble on the hikes. And so I remember on a couple of the longer ones, as we were getting ready to deploy, he would just kind of walk up next to me and be like, "Come on, little buddy, this isn't that bad." And he'd always refer to me as little buddy, which, being 5 or 6 inches shorter than him was appropriate. But he just always encouraged me, keep going, keep going. He would take one big stride, and I would take 5, trying to keep up. And that's just who he was. He just had that positive attitude, and he would carry way more weight than I would and make it look much easier. But he would just look at me, "Come on, little buddy, this ain't that bad." And just remembering that as I walked, just allowing to tell that story of what Tyler did, it was a great way to heal and keep him alive. And the other thing that I've been able to do, which has been hugely beneficial, is just been able to walk with his family. So I've walked with his brother, I've walked with his sister, walked with his mom and his dad, and just to see them. And
so they've been out to carry the load, is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, they've walked with me at Rivershawn Park, and they were there that first year to see me, and just being able to do that provides a bridge to his family and to him in a way. And so that has been amazingly helpful as I get to, in a way, get their forgiveness and get their love. Just
why do you say that? What do you mean get their forgiveness?
Every Marine that loses a buddy over there, whether they were directly there as I was with other Marines, or if they were in another platoon and just had a buddy, we feel responsible. We all do. We feel responsible for losing somebody. Could we have done something better? And could we have seen the IED? Could we have seen the trigger man? Could we have shot faster? Could we have aimed better? Could we have known that something could have been, should we have sensed the situation and seen something? Could we have done anything? And it eats us up. There's a lot of us that it just, it can paralyze you. It's a frustration and a fear that people deal with forever. And in my walk with Tyler's family, it's allowed me to realize or receive that in a way forgiveness, that they know we did all we could. They know that we did everything that could have been done to keep each other safe and bring one another home.
I mean, that's an odd choice of words. I mean, Josh, I've never heard you say that. I mean, especially considering the fact that you weren't even out on patrol with them. You heard about it like everybody else, but yet somehow you feel the need to get forgiveness or seek forgiveness from his family. That's an interesting. I mean, to me, that just shows how close you guys really were.
I think it goes back for me. I know there are other guys in the platoon. I'm not going to speak for them necessarily. You know, they wonder, you know, could I have seen the more specifics, which I did with other instances. So I carry on Woods in Afghanistan and just lost him, and I was there. Could we have done something differently? It beats into your mind, but for me, it's like, could we have trained differently? Could we have prepared differently? What could I have done in any way to make sure that we all came back home alive? And it's not. It's just not an. It's a heavy burden we carry. And so as you walk through that and you continue to carry that burden, carry the load, it is so appropriately named, as we can continue to carry that. How do we lighten that load? And the first way is to say, hey, I forgive myself. I did everything I could. And this is just the way that this is just what God allowed to happen. And so you have to be okay with that.
So that first year, I mean, obviously we are now celebrating, and I say celebrating, and I use that word very carefully because, you know, this is the 10th year of our founding, the 10th year of that walk that has turned into a movement that I think few others can match. Is there anything that really stands out from that first year to you specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it came with the realization that I've been tricked into it.
I don't think we're going to let Clint get away from this one.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep beating that up, but I was tricked. You know, Clint told me, hey, everybody in the company's doing it. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll be out there. And it was about 2 a.m. I realized the only person from the company I had really seen was Clint. I had seen a couple other guys a little bit, but they had bounced. And I'm like, I texted Clint. I'm like, hey, bud, where is everybody? And he replied back, you know, hey, bro, this wasn't mandatory. And I'm like, yeah, you can see the slow Marine wheels are turning in my head. I'm like, wait, I thought it was. You told me the whole company's doing it. And, you know, my background a little bit on that, I had the opportunity to teach martial arts 3 years in the Marine Corps. And so I love martial arts. And my only thought was, okay, I just need to kick the crap out of Clint right now. And so I said, hey, Clint, where are you right now? And he was smart enough to say, I'm halfway around the lake from wherever you are. So he wanted to stay clear. I was looking at my phone and I was angry. And it was at that moment that I realized this wasn't because I was tricked. It wasn't because I hated somebody that brought me out here or that I needed to prove something. I was out there for me. And that first year around White Rock, we had the opportunity between like, I don't know, 2 and 5 to be extremely isolated. And I had the chance to be alone and just keep walking and understand really the anger I needed to let go of, the anger that I kept in order to keep going, the anger that I I held on to that was destroying people around me. And it was a realization as I thought back to Clint saying, you know, he was standing at a memorial party in 2010 and had his arms crossed and his Oakleys on, scowling at everybody. But his wife told him he needed to go do something. He needed to do something about that, let go of that anger. I realized, as corny as I thought he was at the time, I was carrying that exact same anger. I was the one that was, I had no sympathy for others. People would tell me about their day, and I would just be like, well, you're alive, so get over it. Like, no one cares. And, you know, I realized my wife was still taking the brunt of that. And I needed to let go of that anger. I had held on to it for so long, almost as a badge of honor, as something that I was entitled to. And really the only person it was hurting was me. Letting go of that anger was me just continuing to drink poison and saying, oh no, somebody else will pay for my mistakes here. I'm going to keep drinking the poison. But really, I just needed to quit drinking the poison and allow myself to be healed and made whole.
So if your wife was describing you the first time you came home after Tyler's death, fast forward through to the years that carry the load to who you are right now,
Well,
how would she describe that transformation?
I don't know if we can use the language on here that she would describe for me in the beginning. It would not be nice. I was unloving. The transformation has been from a unloving, hurtful, abusive relationship to one of love and really encouragement, where she makes me a better man, I make her a better woman. Her seeing me with Carry the Load, whether it be on a stage where I get to share my story, walking miles with me, taking me to the airport where I get to fly off to wherever to walk in other places. Our love now is what we hope is an example for other couples, specifically other military couples, as we tell them this is what you can do. The word she would use to describe it is transformation and allowing that anger to just kind of melt away. It just a new person is what I am. And a large part of that is Carry the Load.
So you went from silver spoon fed, as you described it, to a defender of freedom, to an angry soul, and then here you are now. And is it safe to say that you're healed? Or are you always healing? Are you still dealing with the anger? You just now know how to deal with it. How would you say it is now?
Yeah, I think we're always healing. You know, I would say a lot of it is going to be ongoing. I would say on a good day, I know that by the grace of God, I am made clean in His eyes, and I'm healed. On a bad day, when I am weak and beat down, I find myself asking the same questions of why. You know, why did this happen? And on those days, I can be crappy to be around. I can be a miserable person. And I think some of it is just having to realize that on those bad days, my wife is real quick to notice them. And she's quick to say, hey, look, maybe you should go call Ken, maybe you should go call Ben, maybe you should call Jimmy and just talk to them and just say, hey, this is what I'm going through, or you know, do you need to go hang out with the Marines for a little bit? And usually getting around the Marines and hearing other stories will allow me to continue to heal. I would say we're always healing. The minute we think we're healed is the minute that we're about to just get blindsided because we think we're done. So we're always healing. Um, we're always healing. We're always learning. But it's an ongoing process and something that I don't think will ever be done. But I think with each step and with each person we talk to, it gets easier and gets better.
Well, I've never known you to be anything other than and I mean this sincerely, a complete gentleman, an upstanding citizen. The way you've always spoken of your wife and your family is nothing short of gleaming. And so, if I'm going to salute your wife a little bit because it sounds like she's been a pillar for you.
Man, she's amazing. My wife is, so we got married. She was 20. I was 22. We were young pups, and I had
So
no
if you
idea.
were that young with all of that, that is against some serious odds.
Yeah, it was, and we got married in Dallas, and she moved out to San Diego, and I deployed 2 months later. So I left her really with no friends, and was like, "Hey, good luck to you in San Diego. All your friends are in Dallas, but good luck, enjoy." And she is amazing. She's extremely strong. She's reserved. She's quiet, but when she speaks loud. And I know that I need to listen when she speaks. Her words come from love, and she really has been a rock. Our marriage is just grounded in the faith, and she has been the one to always say, "Hey, look, I realize you're hurting. You need to take care of that." And she's extremely supportive. Um,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I can't think of. I mean, after 16 years, she's like one of the strongest people I know. She's amazing.
Well, I know that I've met her before, and I think now when I meet her again, I will probably look at her very differently. So please give her our best. So, one other question for you. So, there are people watching this who have not gone through the transformation you've gone through. In all candor, I mean, they've been to carry the load before, and they're still trying to find their way. Maybe they are stumbling upon this, or maybe someone will forward them the recording. What do you say to that person who is identifying with you, going, "God, that's where I am. I mean, I've got a Tyler in my life, and I'm still angry, and I don't know how to deal with it." And worse yet, for some people, maybe they didn't have that wonderful bride standing by their side to keep them strong when they were weak. What are you saying to that person?
Um, yeah, yeah, that's a powerful question, and you, the way you look at that person and what you tell them is it's okay to be angry, but you got to do something with that. It's not your fault. There's nothing you could have done. Let's be somebody that they would be proud of going forward.
Mm.
And so that's the way I know a lot of the guys that knew Tyler, we try to live. Like, are we living in a way that Tyler would say, all right, I gave up my life for something, for some guys that are going to act honorable, that are going to live life to the fullest. A lot of people, they don't talk about it. A lot of the guys I know, they don't talk about it. They stay quiet. Um, I'm not going to quote any stats here. I don't know them, but I know the suicide rate among veterans is very high. And a common theme among those guys is they don't talk. And they might chat, they might catch up with somebody, but they don't sit back and talk with people of what's really going on. They don't tell you how they're really feeling. And it's all about learning to be open and genuine again. You got to have people you talk to. It doesn't have to always be your spouse. My wife and I are extremely close. We don't talk about everything I went through. It's just, it's a lot. I've got some guys that I go to talk about that and to kind of, pour out to them. You've got to talk. I mean, the more you talk, the more you can allow healing to come in. But if you're just going to keep that inside, if you keep that pain and that hurt kind of in the deep, dark parts of your heart, It's just like mold. It grows in those cold, damp, dark places, and eventually you just got to tear everything out. And so that's what people are doing. They're allowing that anger and that hurt to grow in that deep, dark place in their heart, and it just takes over the heart, and that's when it's too late. So you've got to start opening that up and allowing people to break that down and carry that load with you.
A lot of what you're describing there is a book written by a gentleman named Edward Tick, and I believe it's called War and the Soul. It was recommended to me by a gentleman named Tom Spooner, who is a friend of Carry the Load, and he is part of Warriors Heart Foundation. Tom went through some very difficult times. He was Special Forces Army, and literally credits that book for saving his life. And a lot of what you just talked about from personal experience was researched and passed on by this gentleman, Edward Tick. So I'm really glad to hear you say that from firsthand experience, because it really is one of the more impactful books that I've read. And you're right, you got to talk, and it's not always to your loved ones, because the job of the loved ones is really to love those who have been through something like you've been through, not to fix it. That's not society's job. It's society's job to love you and tell you it's okay, just as you just did.
Yeah, and think about when you got out. I mean, you're in the Marines. You and I both served in the Marines. We had this deep sense of purpose. We had this purpose of keeping the guy to our left and right alive. And a number of your guests have said, you don't fight for your family, you don't fight for your friends, you're not fighting for the president, you're fighting for the guy to your left and your right. Every time,
because together you're fighting for that purpose.
Together you are, but your immediate need is, in that moment, is keep this guy alive, keep that guy alive, and they're going to keep me alive. When you get out, you lose that sense of purpose. So many of my friends don't get involved with something like Carry the Load. And I look at it, I'm involved with an organization called the Adaptive Training Foundation, and working with those guys, seeing the transformation as we bring in guys and girls that have isolated for years. I'm thinking of a couple of them that specifically have told us that they were on the brink of suicide. They didn't want to be around anymore. And they get around other people where they can learn to be accepted by their experiences, in spite of their experiences. They aren't defined by their losses. They aren't defined by just the anger that they've had. And that allows them to have hope and have purpose again. And so if you find yourself going, I don't know what my purpose is, I don't know where to gain hope, you got to find something. You can walk with Carry the Load. Work with us. You can work with the Adaptive Training Foundation to volunteer there and say, these are my comrades. This is the camaraderie I'm going to develop and work with these people again. There's something out there where you can work and say, here's the greater purpose I'm working for. Because we're not wired to just focus on ourselves. That's just not how the infantry, the military is typically designed. We work for those to improve those around us. We work best as a team. So how do you get back in that team? Is it with 22 kills, Sons of the Flag, where you say, hey, these guys are able to come around one another, do something that's bigger than themselves, and make lasting impressions? Or are you sitting in the dark saying, hey, I can't do any of this on my own? And the answer is you can't. I can't do this on my own. I would still be the angry, pissed off person I was. Now, there's two things that saved me. One is God. The second is my wife coming up alongside me and saying, hey, you need to talk to people. And those people were willing to listen. I've talked to you, Todd. You and I have walked several miles together. I've walked miles with Clint. I've walked miles with my buddy Ben from 1-5. I've walked miles with these people and said, hey, you remember this? Do you remember this? Do you remember our buddy doing this? Let's keep them alive. Let's focus on this. Let's help others. Let's not go internal. Let's not just focus on ourselves and say, woe is me, because that is such an easy thing to do. Let's focus on others. And that's why we enlisted. we're focusing on others. We're focusing on something greater than ourselves.
Very well said. Very well said. Well, Josh, I know you are going to be joining us on January the 5th. I believe you will be actually out at White Rock Lake. And we certainly want to invite anyone who can be out there Tuesday, January 5th, White Rock Lake. We are, I guess, really kind of patting the organization on the back and everybody who's been a part of it to get it to where it is for the 10th anniversary. And for those who can't be out there, we do want you to join us at 7 a.m. on Facebook Live. And, just to be a part of it. And again, like you said, for those who, who need that sense of purpose, we really want to invite folks out there. This is a community. This is not just a 501c3 charity. This is a community. This is a movement. And we're not going to stop this movement until everyone is acknowledging that the death of that loved one that matters and walking alongside of Tyler's family and others who have gone before us to make this nation what it is. So I just want to say thank you very much to you, Josh, for taking the time to join us. I know if I ask the question, and I'm going to one more time, who you're carrying, I know you'll tell us very easily, but who are you carrying, Josh? Whose memory are you keeping alive?
I carry the men and women of 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, and 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines that died in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Carry their memories and carry their lives with me as I walk the miles and miles we have the opportunity to walk together, Todd.
Josh, thanks, man. Always a pleasure. And once again, this one's for your wife. She's a good woman. So for all of you out there, Merry Christmas to you. We couldn't do this without you. We want you to join us again, January 5th, this next year, 7 a.m. Facebook Live, 10th anniversary of Carry the Load. And for all of you out there who may not have thought about this, always, always, always have a good answer to this question. Who are you carrying?